the makeup that I like about Blume is we all have such different logical processes. We have different cultures. We have different backgrounds. And yet still we keep agreeing on things in shows, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. But I do want to get everyone used to the sense of discourse and debate and just saying, well, wait, hold on. What about this or that? Because diversity is the closest thing. Diversity of opinion and perspective is the closest thing we can get to not being ignorant. Not that it's ever going to happen.
To objectivity, basically.
Yes,
even
right.
though that's
an
impossible.
An objective.
So you want us to create friction with our opinions, but in honesty, based in what we actually believe in, not made up.
How often, like media is subjectively altered. People reporting on media, whether they, you try to be objective, it still becomes objective in some way because you never have the whole truth. You're never capable of seeing the entire truth. The more perspectives there are, the better our chances of having something solid and real. Okay.
I mean, you could if you want to get meta, what is real, Alden?
No, we're not going that meta.
Okay, when why bother with anything?
We'll talk about reality
some other time.
Some other time.
In some other real space.
So here is my question. If we can never truly rid ourselves of being ignorant, regardless of how hard we try or how many influences we take in, can people change?
Yes.
I love that quick. What do you think?
I think people can grow.
Okay.
I think that in my personal experience, I'm not the same person I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, or even like last month or yesterday.
Okay.
And it's sort of like we're constantly in flux, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing has to be entirely set. And especially if you're willing to give into like the fluidity and the fluctuations of life and how things are constantly moving, instead of being so set and fixated on one thing or one identity, then people can change and grow. And you accumulate those various identities. Like all the people you've been live within you.
Yes.
To some extent. Also, I think there are, like you said, we are very different, but there's lots of things that we agree on. So maybe there are certain fundamental, important human things that need to be like considered and given attention to and grown and cultivated. I mean, like, I don't think anyone really thinks a dictatorship is good. And if they do, arguably they're indoctrinated by the dictatorship. But I mean, you'll never agree on anything with everyone. No one will ever agree on everything. Like, it's sort of like that whole thing of how you can be the juiciest peach in the world and you will still find someone who doesn't like peaches. You know? Like, it's just, you will never make everyone happy. And then it becomes a thing of like, well, how do you make most people happy? How do you fulfill most people's needs? How do you preserve most people's human dignity?
But that breaks things.
How?
Okay. If, like, you're okay, so we're moving from a space of individuality to mass consensus, right?
But isn't mass just an accumulation of individuals?
Yes. But that's not how structures are set up to support them.
No, absolutely.
Right? I mean, you're talking about, about managing as many people as possible to have as many people in agreement as possible. But the moment you do that, some kind of humanity gets lost. That's why churches have this weird ignorance behind them. That's why businesses governments or any structure,
institution,
holding masses of individuals and trying to manage them all ultimately has these gaping flaws, because there comes a point where you can no longer treat them all as individuals.
I think then it would come down to encouraging people to focus on their own individual growth.
That's what's necessary.
Is it perhaps maybe the place that needs the change is the way in which the systems are controlled?
Very possible.
It's possible, but then change it to what?
Well, to something that's a bit more effective, something that's...
Socialism.
Like, you need something that caters to people individually.
At its heart.
At its heart, on paper, it's good.
Yeah, well, so practice what's on paper. But
in practice, it turns into a dictatorship.
It does, but... Well, can you have the control and the coming together of the masses without having the dictatorship?
It's a good question. I mean, it's been tried.
Is it possible?
I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe
be
not.
as good in real life as it is on paper?
I don't know about that.
Or is it human nature that's flawed? The need to control. So that if, for instance, we do take on this socialist sort of agenda and it's good for like 4 or 5 years, but then human nature starts interfering and there's always this need to control and this need to the friction will always put one above the other. Is that human nature? Is that ignorance?
Does ignorance come from human nature?
Yeah, what is it? What?
I think ignorance is probably just biological limitation.
Saying we can't do that much with our monkey brains.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
We're built with limitations for reasons, probably. I hope so.
Do you want to send an email and ask?
Let's just email the universe. Go, hey, why did you make me stupid?
Why do we only have 10% of our...
I mean,
That's
use
not
of our
true.
brains?
there's so much argument about everything,
At a time, you tend to use 10% of your brain at a time.
Okay.
You use all
That
of
makes
though.
more sense.
That's
Yeah.
the perfect
That makes
example.
more
There's a lot of semantics about that,
Yeah.
People say this and that, and it doesn't matter how scientific something gets. Something else will be there to oppose that
exactly.
idea.
But I mean, it's like, vaccinations causing autism, that whole thing that was started on that false study.
Yeah.
Or that whole thing that you eat 8 spiders in your sleep per year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was they literally started that rumor to show how quickly false information can spread. So, I mean, and now we're in the age of information, but I mean, a lot of information is wrong. So, like, how to discern between what's even right and what's going to unignorant you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard. Like, how do we know anything at all, really, ever? If so much is subjective and objectivity is impossible, even if we come together as a group, we still have the subjectivity of humanity as a whole.
Yes.
So what is objective?
I think it's just the nature of life.
I think so. I think there's certain things we're not supposed to know the answers to, and we can't.
I think it's like the ring, the yin and the yang. There's constant flux, constant change.
Everything's working.
Wow.
Wow.
Constant flux, constant change. I don't think there's ever going to be a time in this world, on this earth, in this universe, where everything falls in one straight line.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it is. Because it's impossible. We wouldn't exist if that was the case.
Yeah, you wouldn't be human. I mean, if we are literally a compilation of influences, what are you if you are a clean slate? You are nothing.
Yeah.
You are no opinions. You are not a voice. You are not experiences.
We might as well be the tile on the floor.
Exactly. We're influenced biology, influenced by biology and influenced by experience and by other people and by just life. Like, what are you without that?
Yeah.
You're nothing. You're just a ball of consciousness that can't really conscious.
So what I'm hearing is everything, the whole structure of life and our makeup is just chaos, essentially.
Well, organized chaos in a sense.
Okay.
Because organized chaos...
It's chaos from our perception. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, because we don't really
We
know
can't
or
grasp any of
understand it. Or
because we try very hard to
comprehend
compartmentalize everything and to put everything in boxes, make everything make sense and make everything work, but it's not really fundamentally
Is that
possible.
human nature? Is that logical? Is that part of our brains?
I think that's human nature.
I think we naturally have a need to compartmentalize things.
Okay.
I mean,
to make sense of something.
I read something the other day that it's only humans, rats, and wolves who like fight and kill each other for no particularly good reason necessarily. It's like wage war on each other.
Yeah.
Outside of mating season. Outside of that, we're the only animals that really do that.
That's shocking.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Predatorial.
So, I mean...
And what makes us do that? What is it that sets us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom?
That's a good question. A need to conquer, a need to...
Can it be
kind of
traced back to genetics? Can it be traced back to a chemical? Can it be traced back to what is it?
We should get a guest for that.
Is it...
I agree.
We should get a guest for that.
We should get a scientist.
That's a cool thing to discuss.
Yeah.
I had words.
I also had words.
What were my words?
They're gone.
Yeah, they're just like poofed away.
I think our words are tangling.
Probably.
Let's talk about yin and yang and the nature of change. And
Tangling.
The only constant.
Okay, yeah. What I was gonna say.
That was creepy, actually.
That was very weird.